Hi,
Oh,
Benji. Hello.
oh no. Oh dear. Oh
Oh, that's
dear. I think we might. My son just came in and was removed forcibly by my husband and was screaming this. We may have just started
it's
our
real,
first program. It is
real
very
life,
real.
real
This is
life.
real life. This is life in lockdown in the coronavirus with a 7-year-old boy who has attention deficit disorder and oppositional defiance disorder and possibly several other things on the way. So, hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Just another day in isolation.
In Benji's defense, he just wanted to tell me he had just finished reading one of his Diary of a Wimpy Kid books.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It
My
was so sweet.
son used to read those.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm
Hmm.
so glad he likes them. He was trying to put it down on my computer then, was just about to cut off the broadcast. So it's good Thomas dragged him out.
Oh, oh,
So here we are.
oh, yeah. Very interesting. Interesting day, interesting energy, interesting weekend that's happened.
And it's the 13th today, isn't it?
It is, which is a very, very strong number in association with the divine or sacred feminine energy.
Mm. And we love that number, don't we?
We do. We do.
Yeah. So I was really happy to see we were starting on the 13th. And I particularly enjoy it because I feel, it annoys me that it's got like bad rap because it's like, no, 13 is good. There's 13 lunar cycles in the year. And it's like,
Yeah,
and today it's your moon day, isn't it?
it is. It is. It's Moon Day, which is, the ancient, before these days of the week that we know now, most of the days of the week were associated with either gods or the planets. And so today is actually considered Moon Day, the association with the moon. And so it's really a feminine day. It is all about connecting with your sacred feminine. And how you do that is just connecting with your intuitive side, kind of going within that whole place of just being, the nurturing, the sacred, I should say, the inner child, and nourishing your inner child, whether it's playing, you know, watching TV, whatever it is that feels good, honestly. It's less about doing. So, a very powerful day for communication and divination and whatnot.
Mm. I was thinking about it earlier because I've always really liked Fridays
Mm-hmm.
and I've always done like workshops and teaching things on a Friday a lot. And, because Friday is fire. That's how they say it in Danish, or Freya
Freya's
or
day.
Frigg. And it's that divine feminine. And I was thinking, so if Monday's the moon and Friday's fire, what's the difference like between those two energies? There must be like different qualities of like the divine feminine coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So if Monday, maybe that's like the more unconscious side of it. I don't know. I'm just like thinking off the top of my.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really great, it's a great question, a great thought
Yeah, I've never thought
process.
about
Yeah, I mean, with Freya, being the goddess of love and fertility, and um, she gives you that whole. I think isn't Friday associated with Venus as well?
that. That's right. Yeah, it's
Yes,
her.
so there's a theme there.
There is really a thing there. Although I have to say, I have to refute that bit about Freya. It's a bit of a modern spin that she's the goddess of love. I
Mm.
mean, definitely liked to take lovers. Freya, she was a bit of a one.
Mm.
Enjoyed that sort of side of things, but she was actually a sacrificial priestess,
Wow.
and she was really, really powerful goddess. I mean, that was their way of like, whether you want to get into the morals of it or not, because we all sort of go a bit when
Mm-hmm.
we think about sacrifices, but it was a way of raising energy to them, and they didn't have the same sort of moral sort of things that we had. But she was not some sort of love goddess.
Okay.
She was really, really powerful. She was the one that taught Odin how to do magic and about Ruth.
Oh. Oh.
So Yeah. So she's much more of a, I don't know, like great goddess, really, than some.
Well, she does have that
You
double
know,
edge because I've also heard, the whole story about her being pulled by the chariot of the cats, the
yeah.
Norwegian, I forget the name of them, the Norwegian, they're our version of the Maine Coon, but a more ancient
I
version.
think they're lynx
Is
cats,
it,
maybe,
I
but they're
think
wild cats that are quite large
yes,
that live
yeah.
in Scandinavia.
Yeah. And it's that has something to do with her being associated with with battle goddess energy as well. So, I'm not really sure. But
Yeah, no, she was, and I mean, I won't bore you because I can go on about this for ages
no,
because
I'd love to hear it.
I'm training as a save kona or Nordic shaman, and Freya she would get the first pick of the warriors that had died in battle. So and then she picked half, and Odin picked half, but she got to pick first,
Oh,
which
ladies first.
it doesn't get mentioned a lot. It's all about
Wow.
Odin, his sort of halls of, but a lot of the feminine stuff has been lost,
Yeah.
and a lot of like people doing journeys and going very deep to I mean, obviously it's not going to be the same as like the traditions then, which have been lost, but people are really digging down deep into their souls and going on journeys and doing like shamanic journeys and finding a new way for us to connect to the divine feminine. But I suspect that it was a lot more secret and a lot more hidden, and it wasn't written down, and so that's why we don't. But there is a lot of stuff that's written down from the sagas and the Edda, stuff like that. There is a lot of little clues that are really fascinating. I
Yeah.
can.
Oh, I would love when you're all said and done. I would love to listen to things that you have to share regarding that, because I've always been very, very drawn to the Celtic and the Nordic. I told you this before, and it's interesting because they really do seem very similar but different.
Yeah,
Very drawn to both
yeah,
of them, but even the Morrigan from the Celtic
yeah,
belief
yeah,
is very similar to Freya in the battle aspect. There,
yeah,
she takes the,
yeah,
the the souls of the dead warriors, and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. And there were a lot of crossovers between the Celtic and the Nordic. They weren't separate from each other. They knew about each other and, communicating with each other. And there's things that have gone from one side into the other. And, in the Old Norse, they were in Ireland and places like that.
Yeah.
They got to a
They were
lot of
all
places.
over the place. They really were, which is interesting because there's not a lot of information about that. Like, they kind of keep it to there was just certain areas, but I mean, there's artifacts and information that has been uncovered that they were even in the United States. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, and that was long before Christopher Columbus came on over. So lots of lost information.
So this is what me and Jamie are like. We start on something, we just like. Oh, Thomas said to me, my husband, he said, "So how long are you going to talk for?" I said, "Well, not more than an hour. We'll see how
We'll
long we
try.
kind of keep."
We plan to. That's our goal.
Yeah, I said it could be less if we run out of things to say, but I don't think that's going to happen somehow. It's like, but I just wanted to just take a moment, just to take a breath and just tune in and just. I'd like to invite everybody to do this that's listening or watching. Just let's all tune in to being together in this, because this is. I like to think of this as like sacred conversation, and we're wanting everyone to kind of like join in and be in this space. And I'm going to try and remember to look at the comments.
That's what I just did.
Yeah. We want to invite you to ask questions.
I just pulled it up, and we do have Annette, Karen. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly. Bent, Deborah, and Catherine, all watching right now. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to try to. I don't know if I can pull up the actual video because I'm afraid you're going to hear it talking.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I did, but then maybe I have my sound turned off, so I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, I can hear that now.
Yeah, see, I hear it, and I don't know how to mute it. but that's the only way that
Mm.
I can see the comments live. Otherwise, I can click on comments, but I have to constantly update them.
Oh, that's my friend Anetta. Hi to you all from Roskilde, Denmark. Hi, Anetta.
Hello, Netta. Thank you for being here, everybody.
Yeah, it's like being on telly, isn't it? That's what I said to Benji. I said, Mummy's going to go and do her show. And he went, well, you're not going to be on television, aren't
I
you?
call it that too.
No, darling, not really. Because I didn't really want him to know I was doing it, because then he wants to come and be on screen.
Oh, sweetheart.
Fine, but then you can't get rid of him. So he went, yeah, it's going to be the Mummy show.
The mommy show. That's adorable. Aw. Yeah, that's what I call it too. I gotta go do my show. I've been calling it that with the Moon Day too. I gotta go do my show.
Yeah. But I wanted to go back to the reason why we started this. And that was because me and Jamie keep having conversations about like what's happening now. And like I would say something and she would say something. And then this whole kind of like meaning and story would start to emerge. And it only happened when the two of us started talking to each other. And I started getting to this image of, I mean, I know we chat to each other on Facebook and things like that, and people post things, but to actually have a conversation where more of us are involved, and that's like all of you as well. I just had this feeling of us just like coming together as a soul group and just getting much more of a sense of meaning from it, rather than, because it's like, I don't know if this is the same for you, Jamie, but when I read somebody else's words, yeah, it does mean stuff, but it's never the same as when I realize it myself. You know? And that happens more when you're part of the conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, person can just make one comment at the time, and it's just like, so it just snaps in you like that. And I think there's just so much happening now.
It really is. And you know, it's almost reminiscent of, you know, the days where, you know, such as like Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, you know, they would all come together and have these meetings where they just came together and they just shared, they talked, you know, and the people that were with them, that were listening to what was coming through, you know, it was a very interactive thing. It's like a co-creation that's happening. And I really do feel like it's about what we're doing here by going live and just opening up space to talk with no motive, no, you know, rhyme or reason as to where it's going, is that everybody that's drawn here, I do feel like it's about what we're doing together is creating sacred space. And in that sacred space is when magic can really happen. And what comes through is, I feel like, relevant for all of us together. So it's like the web, you know, we're weaving this beautiful web of interconnectedness when we come together like this. So
yeah, and then these messages and these meanings sort of come out of it from everything that we brought together. And it leaves me feeling more connected. It leaves me feeling more like that connection with community, but also I feel calmer.
Yeah.
And like at the moment, that I really need that.
Yeah. And connection is so important. I mean, that's really, you know, we're in isolation. And I feel like part of this is, I don't want to say like we're being punished or anything like that. That's not the term, but human language is so lacking. But it feels kind of like it's a lesson for us all to remember, you know, what happens when you take away something that you've taken for granted for so long, is you begin to finally come into a place of recognition and appreciation. So I think that connection is so important right now when we're all in isolation. We all really coming together and we're still achieving that connection together. So I think that's really important. And I think it's a great thing that we're able to have this space like this.
Yeah. And I'm really grateful to have the technology that means that I'm in Denmark and you're in New Jersey in the United States, and we can sit next to each other on a screen and chat.
Absolutely. And all of you with us all over the world. Although we don't have you on our screens, we still have you here with us. So
Yeah.
And I'll try to keep checking into these. We have Angie Walters popped in, Tracy, Han. I don't know if I said your name right, so I apologize if I didn't. So welcome. Thank you for being here. Are you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see it
Can you see
now.
it?
I can,
The only way I can
yeah,
see it is if I don't actually watch the live video. I can click on the comments, but I have to keep updating it. So I'm not seeing them live in real time. Otherwise, you'll hear us in the background.
yeah, I can see Benta says hi from Denmark. There's Catherine Ritter, she's watching us from work. Lala Luna, hi, lovely ladies. And Deborah Gleister saying hello.
Yeah.
It's a bit exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow.
So where do you want to start today? Out of all I've written down things. I've got scribblings all over a paper, but
Okay.
where do you want to start, Jamie?
Well, speaking of the interconnectedness, I don't think it's just about the connection of oneness between humans that is being brought up for our recognition. I think it's about the interconnectedness of the all, the planet and Mother Nature as well right now. And I find it fascinating that while I'm in New Jersey and you are in Denmark, we are both experiencing very high winds today. And
Yeah.
it's so high that I actually joked with Rachel and said I might end up in Oz later today or something because the winds are really extreme. And this has been kind of an off and on theme here for us over here in New Jersey, New York area. And that's interesting to me because there's no coincidences. New York and New Jersey are the highest cases of coronavirus in the country. And it's pretty extreme. New Jersey is really kind of battling for first place with New York right now because it's really extreme. But one thing I feel like I was hearing about that is that we are experiencing, all of us as one, a purification by air. So the elements are very much part of us. We are all made up of the five elements and the earth as well. And being connected to that, when we start to understand and connect more with the energy, we can really start to move in flow with what is going on. And it makes it less scary. It allows us to be less resistant to the changes that are occurring, because when we resist and we go into those places of fear, it actually hinders our growth and transformation and makes it that much more difficult. So this purification by air, I mean, sadly, if you look back at what just happened not too long ago with the bushfires between Australia, the Amazon, even California and the United States experienced it. That was a purification by fire. And why these things are so incredibly devastating, and it's obviously we don't want to celebrate it, you understand it, that it's a necessary part of rebirth. So now when we have the purification by air that's happening, and a couple of my friends and I joke that this is like the air dragons coming in right now and really clearing the pathways. The air is linked to our minds and our mental body. Our mental body is the consciousness and linked into the old paradigm. So what's happening is that we are clearing the mental process of and program of that old paradigm as that old structure begins to fall away, to help us tap into the new paradigm, or what we consider new earth consciousness. And it allows us to begin to see from a higher perspective in that new earth consciousness, in the the oneness, the love, the clearing of all that doesn't serve us anymore with the control and the toxic ways of being and living, and all of that. So
Yeah.
just a little bit of background of my personal feelings and messages that I've kind of been receiving over the last couple of weeks with these high winds, because it's on and off here all the time now.
And I just love that, because you were like reading the live elements that are happening around you, and they're speaking to you. And as you were saying those words, I was thinking, oh, I've got something to share with you, Jamie. You're going to love this.
There's that triggering we talk about. Yeah.
And then there's two things that came up for me. So one is a card that I pulled the last time we had our little practice, and I asked for a card. I said, can I have a card for the group, what the group is about? Okay. And I'll read that out to you in a minute. And that you're going to go,
oh my goodness.
And then the other thing is, you're talking about the amount of people that are passing at the moment. And of course, that's something that we're all thinking about. And I came across this beautiful prayer for the dead. It's called a witch's prayer.
Oh,
And I want to read
I
it.
would
I
love
want to
that.
read it out for us. And then people can send healing or prayers or blessing or just be in their emotions or whatever they want to do
Yeah, what
while
a
I'm
great
reading it. So
idea.
yeah, it's just beautiful. It's just absolutely beautiful. So let me find. I'll start off with the card first. So these are Judy Hall's crystal cards, and they have these really it's called the Wisdom Healing Oracle, and they have these really high vibrational crystals that I've never
Oh,
heard of. And so I love using this because I get to access like different energies. It's quite hard for me to buy things like
mhm.
this in Denmark. And the card I pulled, and the funny thing was, I actually pulled this card myself like the week before. So it had been standing out by my desk for like like a month or something. And then I put it back in the pack. I shuffled the pack. I cut it 3 times, and I asked for a card for the group. And I pulled the same
Oh my
card.
goodness. Wow.
And it's an
Oh my
Anandalite.
goodness.
Anandalite, cosmic consciousness. Okay. You have it, so you
I
have
got this from
it.
Mount Shasta. This is funny because this is the first time I ever came across that crystal. I never heard of it. I went to Mount Shasta
Yeah.
on the cusp of my part of my awakening, the beginning, I should say. And this came to me there. So very hard to see.
I so, I so have crystal envy right now.
Oh, gonna have to send you. Have to get you one and send you one when I go over to England, and it's easier for me to post something there.
But I'm so happy for you that you have
Oh,
it, Jamie.
I love that you pulled that. I can't even. I've never seen that in a card before. So I'm sorry. I'll stop
You
talking. I'll let you.
just wait and hear this, right? You are here to experience cosmic consciousness. This is I asked, what is the group about? Transform your goals and seek a new direction. You have exceptionally clear sight right now, which is true, isn't it? Haven't you been finding that, like, since the coronavirus thing's going on? It's just like the sight is like, things are just getting so much clearer. Stripped to the bone as the old falls away, not despair. New light is infused. When you transform your awareness, humanity experiences a quantum shift.
Wow. Wow.
I
Wow.
know,
That's
isn't it?
amazing. My goodness. Okay, because I'm gonna need that deck now. Wow.
This is one bad thing about our relationship. We're like encouraging each other to buy more oracle cards.
I'm like, look at this one I found.
Yeah, I know. I've already bought one that, well, I did ask you for them. So, like, my own fault, isn't it?
Oh, well.
But sorry, I keep fiddling with I have these sort of ones that just sort of,
Mm-hmm.
I have this thing called Meniere's disease, which is like an inner ear disorder. And I had to go and have like hearing tests because like I'm losing the hearing in my right ear. And they said to me when they did the test, they went, "You've got unusually small ears, like inside, like the holes are like really
Yeah,
small."
I know it does. And they're not very comfortable.
So I do sort of like, I feel like they're falling out all the time. I don't know whether they are, but I'm sorry if I
And
keep
so
fiddling with them. I might grow out of it, but I don't think so. I think it's just going to be one of those things I'm going to do.
I really wish that I could mute this and see everybody's comments live.
Just turn your volume down on the phone.
You know what? Let's see if the well, see, I had the whole volume and everything is off. So it's interesting. It was still being able to play, but when I manually turn the volume down, that worked.
Yeah.
So genius. All right. So Angie Walters is actually one of my soul sisters. She's commenting. She is her business page is Crystal Essence Healing, and she is saying that Anandalite comes from the Himalayan mountains, and the deck that's the deck with the rainbow bridge, Jamie. Oh wow. So she is a crystal healer. She works with crystal Reiki. She's been using, actually, she pretty much taught me a lot of what I know about crystals over the last, 14, 15 years, Angie. So she does work with Judy Hall's crystal books and Bibles and whatnot a lot. So that's what I can't believe I've never gotten this deck. But
So how do you say Anandalite?
I always pronounce it because it's like she has it written as Anandalite, but I think there is an N in there, and Anandalite.
I like
Anandalite, yeah. Anandalite. And Anandalite. It's easy to remember it that way too. We're just gonna make up our own words for everything. But yes.
Oh,
Lynette actually says that hey Lynette, thanks for tuning in, love. She says she actually has the same ear issue as you, and it's terrible.
oh, yeah, it is. I can't see my comments now. Where are my? So I have to like refresh
That's
it.
what I was having to do prior to this. So I'm sorry, everybody. This is a work in progress. We're figuring it out. So
I'm gonna. They know how it is. It's the same for them, isn't it?
I'm going to try to leave mine up now so that I can see them. Let's prop them up. All right.
So shall I read the prayer?
Yes, please. I think that's a wonderful thing.
I saw this. Somebody shared this, and then I shared the person's post. And her name is Byron Ballard, and she is, I believe, an American witch. She has a website, The Village Witch.
Okay.
But she lives in Ireland. But yeah, it's Byron, Byron Ballard, and she has a book called Earthworks, and she said she wrote the prayer, and it's in there, and it is really lovely. So it's quite long. Take this as a time for like sending healing, or just being with your own thoughts around things. But this is like a loving healing space for us. So, a prayer for the dead. You have come to the end of this pathway, in a journey to which we bear witness. You have come to the end of a pathway that is barred with a gate and a door. May this door open swiftly and silently. May this gate give you a moment's grace in which to rest your spirit before you venture through. We stand here with you as your companions, as your family, for you are beloved. But for now, we must remain here. We cannot go with you to this old land, not yet. For you will see the ancestors. You will see the beloved dead. You will walk among the divine beings that guide and nurture us all. You go to dwell in the lands of summer and apples where we dance, forever youthful, forever free. We can hear the music in the mist, the drums that echo our sad hearts. We can see your bright eyes and your smiles. And so we open the gate. We push back the door. We hold the gate open. We glance through the doorway. And with love and grief and wonder, we watch you walk through. Hail the traveller. All those remembered in love, in honour, live on. Farewell, O best loved, O fairest, farewell.
Wow. That's beautiful.
I'd just like to add my own prayers that people who have passed over are able to go into the light when they're ready and when they need to go. and that we can hold that space for them to pass over. And so, you know, I'm really struck by, in this time with so many people passing and so much suffering and loss and tragedy, we have this incredible time of light coming in. There's so much light coming in energetically, and you know, it's like this balance of like light and dark, and it feels so incredibly balanced. And I looked it up, this quote, and then I got distracted by something else, but there's that quote that says it was the best of times and the worst of times, and that really describes it for me, how things are at the moment, because it's unbearable, the things that are happening,
and many people, you know, even if you're not directly I mean, let's face it, we're all really directly impacted, because we're all, you know, our lives are changed, we're all isolated, we all have to do things differently than we did. But even those who haven't been directly impacted by the virus itself, as far as losing someone or being, you know, you yourself being ill, we're all feeling a collective grieving, you know, and that was something I read. I didn't even remember, a few weeks back, but I had been feeling it, and I often tune into the collective. I often pick up energy for the collective, as part of that is for me to help to transmute what's going on. And, you know, sometimes, and maybe a lot of you can relate, that you may just feel sad. You may just feel as though, you know, you might be feeling anger, you might be feeling frustration, and you might, when you find, you know, really stop and ask yourself, well, there's no real reason for me to be feeling this, or maybe there even is. But what's happening is that as a collective, we're mourning. We are, not just for all of the souls we are losing at this time and all of our loved ones, but we're feeling Mother Earth, who is also grieving, because she herself is dissolving the old. And we are leaving behind old ways of life, old ways of doing. We will never be the same. And that sounds bad, but it's also not. It's also the best of times. It's also a very beautiful thing that is occurring.
It is. And I used to be a mental health nurse, and I did quite a lot of training in psychotherapy and counseling and stuff like that. And I remember learning about how, you know, when you're going through changes in your life, when you're leaving old things behind, even if they're things that you hated and you wanted to get rid of, the human psychology is kind of made in a way that it's hard to let go of things. And there is always a grieving process, even for the things that were crap, because then there's the loss of, well, they should have been better, you know. So there's always grief, there's always loss, even if it's not easy for us to change. We are like biologically programmed to like keep doing the same thing. So it is that card, it said a quantum shift. I really feel that. I really sense that. Because I'm not really much of a one to believe things. I'm not a great believer, you know. I believe the things I experience myself, or that I read and listen to or hear, and I hold them to my own heart, and I go, yeah, that feels true. That's, you know, so I tend to talk about what I experience rather than what I believe, because I can get into, well, that's just me. That's how I function.
Yeah. I do. I think I might be the opposite, where it's kind of sort of, because I will feel something intuitively. And it's part of just like, it becomes part of just like something that I believe, you know, but it's because it resonates within my soul, you know, it resonates within my heart. And so I'll only share that in which does. Like, I can read thousands of posts and information from many sources, from many people. And, you know, I won't just accept it as truth, though. It really does have to, it really does have to speak to my soul and my heart. And I'll just like, yeah, you know, this is it. But more often than not, spirit or the universe or my higher self will actually show me something through experience to help validate it, because I'm also very much like you, where it's like, well, I've got to feel it. I've got to experience it some way for me to really accept it as truth.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I think we're talking about the same thing. I just have a thing about this word believe, but it's just like a personal thing, because like we all put different like meanings on different words. Like to me, something, this belief, it's almost like something that's been imposed upon me from the outside. So I'm like,
Yeah.
and quite often we've got these unconscious beliefs we didn't know we had, but we were running that
Yeah.
old program,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
That's a really great point. Because I think as we move more and more into this newer way of being, a huge part of that is coming back to self, coming back to your heart source, because your heart source is, in essence, source, and that's truth. And so it is less about what we are told, what is being presented to us, and we are being guided as a collective to more and more listen to really what we feel resonates with our soul, to really look through and find your truth in everything that's shown to you. And that's part of, I think, coming into this higher way of being, this new earth consciousness, is getting back to our intuitive nature, and that is the sacred feminine, you know, really listening.
and I was thinking about this. I can't remember why. It was something to do in connection with this, but I was thinking about, so again, like when I was a mental health nurse, we were taught to sort of so we had a lot of clients who maybe were schizophrenic, or had very, very fixed beliefs about things that other people would think were mad. And we were taught to kind of like, you didn't say to someone, I agree with you, and you didn't say to someone, I disagree with you. You just sort of stayed in a place that was open without confirming or denying what they were feeling. And that is kind of my attitude. I've learned that because like I have this really skeptical brain. I have a really analytical brain that just analyzes things, and it's really useful in some settings, but it can be very like and I don't take any notice of it. I know, I go, yes, thank you for that information. I always keep my mind open to things, because things that I thought are lunatic, I've actually experienced very, very deeply, like 5 years up the road. And it was like, oh, now I get it. Because it's when I say experience, it's like that thing of experiencing it in your own body, where it like you become the thing, and then you can't deny that experience. So I've learned to be open to things without confirming or denying. So I'm in a space of openness. And I don't know why I was thinking about this, but like over the years, so I've worked with Ascended Master Sarah since, I think she turned up about 2006. It was the year after I first went to Hawaii, and that was 2005. And quite a few people, it's interesting, quite a few people feel they are like Sarah incarnated. And quite a few of those people have written to me over the years saying, I'm Sarah. And sometimes they actually ask me, what do you think about that? Often they don't. It's an implied question. Like they want me to say whether I think they're Sarah or not. And I don't feel like it's my space to actually do that, actually. It's not my business to say who they are and who they're not. That's something we have to like find out for ourselves. And it's like, I don't confirm and I don't try. But it's interesting, I hold this possibility that there are these people that are soul aspects of her.
Yeah.
But they come into an incarnational line of ancestors, and they still have all the ancestor stuff there. That's why I was thinking about it, I think, because of all the work so many of us are doing. There's so much ancestral healing to do. That's so important. And so, someone might be a soul aspect of Sarah, but that doesn't mean there's something like Jesus walking on the earth.
And I think that's a really good point to bring up. I love that you said that, the soul aspect, because when you were saying that, I actually remember I was talking to someone, and I believe it was when I was in Glastonbury, that there are so many women coming forward now feeling as though they are Mary Magdalene reincarnated. And here's the thing about that. First of all, I don't want to diminish anybody's feelings that you may or may not be. But I would like to share and touch a little bit more on what you just said, as a means of being a little bit more open to possibility. I feel like these souls that we're talking of, Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Ascended Master Sarah, were such big energies in their time that when first of all, they left behind lineages. Okay, so we will acknowledge that. They did leave behind physical lineages. But then also, now you bring in reincarnation, we have soul aspects of these energies that we're connected to. So now you're talking ancestrally, not even just blood related. This is still in your DNA. So one, you could just be having the soul memories of them that you're carrying with you. But one other thing that I also saw when you were talking is that their energy, once they ascended and new souls began to create, these souls that were carrying their lineage, it's almost like it was seeds that were sent out across, across time. And these people are carrying seeds of those beings. So in an aspect, they are them incarnated, but not solely them. That there are many aspects of Mary Magdalene walking around, because this is what we need here. And they will do her work and continue. Same with Ascended Master Sarah. And I feel very strongly that these beings that do come to us in some form of meditation, that, or come to us in messages, that come to us as channel, for us to channel their energy, I feel like we are aspects of them, or somehow soul ancestrally connected, that we are meant to carry their messages, their seed, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, these things, they are like a wonderful mystery, and I do like to think about them and talk about them,
Yeah. And that's
and
why it's so
wonder.
great about what you said about how you sometimes have the analytical mind that comes in, because that's necessary. It is necessary. And then the belief, or the intuitive mind, is just knowing, just believing and trusting what you feel. They have to be in balance. This is the left and the right hemisphere of the brain that is being brought into unification at this time, with the mental clearing that's happening. So it's important to analyze, for sure, to look deeper into something, but also to have those moments of being open, like you said, to not try to stick something in a box, like I am Ascended Master Sarah incarnated here on earth. You may be a aspect of her, but opening up to, it's not so black and white anymore.
Well, I think the way, for myself personally, like years ago, I had a dream. That I was Mary Magdalene, and I've had quite a few dreams about Mary Magdalene. And I remember in another dream, I was, because I channel, there was a demonic force there, and it was really scary. And I opened up and I channeled Mary Magdalene, like, out to this demon, and it just went poof, like that. Yeah, and it was great, because like in one of the books I've got, a guy called Tao Malachi, really fantastic, this book. It's called The Gospel of Saint Mary Magdalene. He calls her Queen of Demons, actually. And she has that power of the dark feminine, and it really speaks to me. It really speaks to me. But I think I've never had a personal insight where I felt like Mary Magdalene. But even if I was or wasn't,
it's not important to get stuck in it anyway.
What's important is what I do now.
Exactly.
how I live my life now, because we are all incarnation of the divine. We all have a divine spark. We're all part of the divine. We're all equally
You're right.
important.
And a lot of people, it's the same situation with past lifetimes. Many people want to understand past lives. They want to know their past lives. They want to go into it. And I feel like it is important to understand your past lives because it understands where you came from. It also helps you understand your karmic lessons that you might be repeating in this lifetime. And I am an advocate for spirit showing you what you need to know so that you can work through now to clear it across space and time. But the important part that a lot of people forget is that they get stuck in those lifetimes and they want to go back there, and the importance is to take all of the wisdom from all of your lifetimes, from all of your ancestral relationships or lineages, and carry it with you now as one, as part of the work that you do here, to use it, whether you learn from it, and Angie Walters actually left a comment for us, and I felt like it was really interesting. It said, us being of the one, which is the one consciousness, we are them at the same time, like we are all part of each other, the same as with divine beings. I think that's really beautiful. And it's very difficult for people to understand that because of our consciousness being still kind of in the old program. But I think that that's kind of where we're moving into understanding. Well, we're all each other. We're all part of it.
Yeah, and there are a lot of ego traps in all of this as well. Because I think, like, for some people, because like I say, I don't want to judge anyone, and for some people, it is an important part of their journey that they understand they're an aspect of Mary Magdalene or Jesus or whoever. But I've always sort of wondered about, if you do feel you're someone like that, like egoically, there must be a lot of pressure to feel like you have to do things. And then if you're not, then, well, why aren't I? Am I failing? So I think, that will take a lot of depth of integration and but I do think it's possible. I do think it's possible.
I feel like the best thing if someone finds themselves in those situations, because like you, I've had those situations happen where I'm like, no way, no, I'm not even going to dare say that out loud. And I think that's the important part of it, is that you take the information and you just absorb it. And I think the best thing that you could do is ask this aspect of yourself: how do I use this information in my current life and going forward? And then just go from there, not to really fixate on it, and to find that, because if it's like the person that doesn't want to talk about it, that doesn't really want to put it out there and say, well, I am Yeshua in the flesh, person that doesn't want to do that is maybe coming from a place of humility and being humble. And I think that's important, versus us going far left. Finding the balance between the humble and also accepting this aspect of yourself is very important, because if you're being presented it, there's something you're meant to do with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting topic.
Yeah. It is. And I could just see my other friend Hannah from Roskilde is also writing.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you for being here. Hi, Rosemaria. Welcome. And Dawn, I know there's a bunch of you popping in that we didn't get to acknowledge, but we always check our comments after the end as well.
But we really do want to hear from you, because it adds, your thoughts and what we're saying and any questions you have. It gives so much richness to the conversation, and also, it's really interesting. We all have a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if anybody wants to comment or touch on what we were just talking about, feel free. If we don't get to you during the live, and we can always check back those comments after we're done here.
I'm just looking at my scribbling. Oh, yeah. So, when we were talking a while ago, and you were saying a couple of weeks, I think you were saying about a barter economy. You were saying that something about, I was, I can't remember how this came up. I was washing up in the kitchen, and Thomas, my husband, he said something about barter, and I said, what's that? And he said, oh, we were just reading this thing about, I know, that was it. We were talking about, like, because like so many places are in lockdown and the economies. And I said, oh God, wouldn't it be great if we could just get rid of all the economies? Because everybody can do stuff. We could all do stuff. Let's all just, like, this was like how Star Trek was when I was a kid. I loved Star Trek. And on Star Trek, people just did the stuff that they wanted to do, and everybody just shared. And I was like, I want to live in that world. So, reading all this stuff about the economy, even though I know it's not realistic at the moment, it's like part of me is just longing for, let's not have an economy, because that the whole money thing just creates, a lot of madness. And Thomas said, oh yeah, we've been reading this thing about Argentina, because they've had several like really bad crises with their economy, with huge inflation. And so people have set up like barter economies. And in most recently when it's happened, because they were doing it very locally, and they were having like barter clubs, so people would get to know each other, and they would use it to like supplement their income. So like people would like work part-time and then go home and make loads of pizza or knit loads of dolls, and then go to their barter club and then barter it for stuff that they needed. And now it's sort of gone into Facebook groups. So you do all the arranging on Facebook first, and then you go to the club and you meet, and then you just sort of do the arrangement there. And I just thought that was really interesting, because
we were talking about it when we were kind of brainstorming the idea to start evolving into the cosmic heart. And it's funny because right after we talked about it, I sent you that message. I was like, oh my goodness, my husband texted me and was like, Jamie, where did you find toilet paper? I have a friend or a coworker whose wife just had to trade a thing of bananas for like a couple rolls of toilet paper with her friend, and she thought it was just absolute madness. So he was trying to find out where I had gotten toilet paper to let them know. And I was like, honestly, I was like, it's so funny that you just sent me that message, because that's bartering. And in days of old, before we had, back when we kind of had like ranks and, monarchies, not everybody was as well off as the next person. And so in communal settings, like villages, they did have, especially people who were like us, the healers, the blessers, they didn't have means to work, and they were often people who really just lived off the earth. And so what they would do is they would offer their services to the village when the village needed healing or medicines or some sort of remedies, and then the villagers would take care of them. They would give them a chicken so that they could be taken care of and have their own eggs to eat, or they would give them a bag of grain or something like that. So everybody kind of like took care of one another. And so bartering is a really wonderful way to kind of, come together and help each other with things that I might have that might be useful to the next person. And healers and energy workers or intuitives, they're all beginning to actually do that a lot as well, I've noticed, where, instead of, you paying me, Rachel, for a healing session, you would offer me a channeling session in exchange. You see what I'm saying? So this is a very beautiful thing. It is very old custom, like long before coins and money systems came in. But it's kind of it's a wonderful way to keep that open mind when money does not need to be exchanged. People can help each other, and that's important because we're helping one another.
Yeah. I feel really, really drawn to it. I mean, because I've always done that, like exchange sessions with people or whatever, and it's been a source of like nurturing for me, because it means I can sort of get sessions from people that are really nurturing, but perhaps I couldn't afford by offering my time. But I feel like this is something that we need to go into deeper, and it's especially that aspect of community that appeals to me, because there's this engaging with another person and a caring and of course, my mind's thinking, how would you protect yourself against people who were trying to rip you off, and this, and I'm sure that's the thing
Mm-hmm.
about money, isn't it? Is that stuff's all taken out of it, all
The
the risk and
attachment to
everything.
money, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, and I don't know what the answers are, but I know I have a longing. I have actually a longing for doing that. And I'm also thinking practically, people might actually have to start doing this
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing, and
Yeah.
it could
It
be
really
quite
could be.
nice.
I do really feel, and I have to tell you, I find it fascinating because I've always been drawn to it as well. And I spent a lot of time reading like ancient history and things in my 20s, and really connecting with the old ways. And so bartering is one of the things that really drew me, but also, is it called teething? Teething? Tething? Tithing, I can never pronounce it,
Tithing.
forgive me. Tithing is also something that I've always connected to and I've worked with, which is always giving back. I think it's something, they put a number on it, but I don't think it really needs to be a number, but something, let's just say 10% of what you earn you give back in some way. And I've always resonated very deeply with that, which is why I do my moon days every week. This is a way for me to give back. Another thing that I do is, and I'm just saying these things for ideas for others to kind of maybe see how if it might benefit you in some way. Um, Also, I have a healing um, kind of motto for animals, that I will only accept a donation. I don't care what it is, whatever that might be. If it's an exchange, it's an exchange. I will heal animals for whatever you want to give me. It does not have to be any money whatsoever. And I say heal, healing, energy healing. So that's, I think it's something also to maybe for people to take into consideration. Some sort of giving back in some way is very, very important. But when it was a long journey for me becoming a Reiki master healer. And the first attunement happened for me for my level 1 in 2008. And how that happened, and I tell all my students this, was the Reiki master who I was working with way back then. I was in a high priestess circle and I was training to become a high priestess. And part of the requirements was that I had to receive at least level 1 certification in Reiki healing. And I didn't know what that was back in 2008, and I'm like, this sounds, it just sounds next level. Like back then, embracing the idea of energy healing for me was very new. So I went to the Reiki master, and I had said, who happened to be one of my sisters in the circle. And I had said, this is a lot of money for me to come up with at this time for something I don't fully understand. I don't really know what to do about that. And she said that she would meditate on it and come back to me. And when she did, she said her guide said that I was absolutely supposed to become a healer. This was my journey. This was my path. And so she would let me make payments however I needed to. And then the remaining courses, which were level 2, and then your master teacher, all were done through bartering. I did not pay anything for the rest of it. We worked things out with services that I could provide and helping her. And so it's an amazing thing. And when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. It'll just happen. So opening to the idea of bartering is amazing. I think it's a great thing that you brought up.
Yeah, and it's something I definitely want to think about more and think about how I can work with that.
And finding the
yeah,
balance too, because I mean, realistically, some of us, we obviously can't pay our electric bills with bartering. So sadly, maybe one day, but right now we can't. So some of us, this is our way of living. This is our
yeah,
way of life, earning a living this way.
yeah,
So maybe adopting another idea with the way you perceive money can shift things. The way we pay out money, releasing it, is that money is just a form of energy. It's a form of love.
yeah,
Often people will refer to it as energy exchange. So understanding, putting love attached to money, I think shifts the way that we hold on to it so tightly. And the tighter that we hold on to the concept of money and the old programming of it, it pushes it further away from us. It blocks our ability to be open to receiving abundance. So just maybe trying to shift your perspective on money It's just a form of exchange and relinquishing it, and not feeling so afraid to let it go, or afraid of not having enough of it or it coming back to you, it's a big one. It's a big
Yeah,
concept, but I
it is.
but it
It
helps.
is. It is. And when, as you're talking, I'm thinking about, so, like I said, years ago, I went to Hawaii and I went a couple of times. And around that time, I had a lot of like spontaneous past life memories of being in
Wow.
Hawaii. And I'm really happy, the sort of happiest lifetime I've ever remembered. I was like a hula dancer. And I was like, oh, a hula dancer, that's not that special. And then I realized, as I learned more about Hawaiian culture, it was like the dancers, they were like channeling so much like stuff through the dance. And I was like, oh, wow, that's
Mm-hmm.
so profound. I want to do that. I want to do it rather than just sit there and channel it. It's like
Oh
with your
my goodness.
whole body. It's like amazing. But I hold that like Lemurian energy so deep in my psyche. It's like, it feels like it's at the foundation of everything. And then I worked with it for a lot of years, and I sang a lot of Hawaiian chants and I did workshops. And then it just sort of tailed off. I started working with Sarah, and it's never gone. It's never gone away, but I haven't worked with it like at the front. And then, the last couple of years, I've been working with this Nordic shamanism, or Old Norse and Seither, and that's a whole other thing. But actually, I feel like the Nordic shamanism and the Hawaiian spirituality just complement each other so beautifully. And it's like, it might not be obvious to a lot of people. They'd be like, don't really see it. But it's almost like the Nordic shamanism is like a container, because it's like, it's so pragmatic and it's so grounded, and yet it reaches up to these incredibly high energies. It's got the high and the low, or I don't
Mm-hmm.
really like high and low as words, but you've got to use words. So there we go. And it's almost like the Nordic spirituality is like a container for these Lemurian energies to come into, because like what you're talking about with the money, and we connect to this incredibly high energies coming in. We'll have to talk about that next time, because we're out of time now. But it's this whole thing about how do we bring these energies into our life, because like, I said I was a nurse. I'm a very practical, pragmatic person. Every time spirit presents me with something, I'm kind of like, yeah, but so what? What can I do with this? How is this going to make a difference to my life? How is this going to make a difference to everybody else's life? I want to know. I kind of there like wanting to know, how do I use this in my everyday life? And of course we can. And that's the bringing it through, and the grounding
Mm-hmm.
it. And, and I guess that's partly what these conversations are about. It's also the inspiration, but it's also a way like bringing these things through and then going, and what do we do? What do we do with this? Oh, well, I read this and I had that. And, for people to write in and
Mm-hmm.
share things. And
Yeah, we've got some
that's
comments here. I don't know if you want to read them really quickly before we get out of here. Um, we've got, let's see, Rosemarie says, last night I went to bed thinking I needed to exchange Reiki with someone. So that's really wonderful. Then I would say, Rosemarie, this might be your confirmation, love. So that's beautiful. Hey, MJ, welcome, beautiful. Thank you for being here. Angie said, we did the same. Jamie, love that idea. Bartering, absolutely. Angie Walters, as I said, she is a crystal Reiki master. And I attuned her to Reiki, and she attuned me to crystal Reiki in exchange. So beautiful way for people to be able, and it doesn't have to just be, energy services, everybody. If you make jewelry, and the next person, has these, I don't know, let's just say these beautiful, um, things that they create and offer, approach the situation of bartering. Don't be afraid to do that, because it might be completely foreign to that person and they don't know anything about it, but you just opening up that door, planting the seed, they may not be open to it, but you may have planted a seed for them to be able to slowly begin to understand it, So I think I think it's a great thing to try to, because like Rachel said, how do we how do we anchor these things? We get all these ideas, all this stuff comes up, but it's like, what do we do with it? I think the more you just start to understand and try to work with it, it'll just begin to anchor itself.
And I'm going to think about what is the difference between the quality of energy, divine feminine energy, on a Monday and a Friday.
Yes, yeah, different.
And that's everyone's homework for next week.
I'm going to say start of the week, that whole fresh, like, all right, here's the beginning. And then come Friday is like, Friday feels more like play for me, where Monday seems more like the, if I were to think of in the feminine aspect, I would sit down and I would be going within to do the preparation work. Whereas come Friday, it's time to actually like break free and be feminine in a way that's more playful, nurturing of that inner child, if you will. But that's just my take.
I like it. Let's talk more about it. Let's talk more about it next time. And yeah, I should have been a teacher, really.
You are a teacher.
I need a I need a Hogwarts university. I could sort of go there and be a lecturer, and I could like give people all sorts of
Rachel's School of Magic.
I would just love
it. That's what I want to teach spells and potions.
Yeah, okay. You're head of that department.
That's the fun, you see, and that's the fun of the feminine is it's all about just being playful as well and being unleashing. So wonderful. Thank you everybody for tuning in with us. This has been fun. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you have questions or comments or insight to add, please drop them in the comments, and Rachel and I will, over the next couple of days, maybe go over, see if there's anything that we missed.
Yeah. Or things you want us to talk about as well that you think are interesting.
All right. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. I knew we wouldn't be able to shut up.
If we don't make ourselves stop, we will not.
I'm going to shut up now.
All right. Well, it's been lovely. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your week, and hope to see you again next week.
Blessings for the week ahead, and hope to see you again.
Bye from New Jersey.
Bye from Denmark. I'm going to stop the
Bye.
Bye. Bye.